Hello ladies and gentlemen, and good morning, and welcome to my forecast for the 2nd of March 2020. So here is the Aussie US dollar. So as you can see guys, I personally haven't got involved in any position here. I wasn't really looking at the position that I know quite a few people looking at the inside bar here to get involved to go long. Now the reason being I wasn't personally looking at this is because we've pushed up out of this kind of range from here, okay? We've pushed up. We're not seeing that much momentum. Then again, we've broke the high, retrace, broke the high, retrace, broke the low, retrace, broke the high, retrace, and broke the low, retrace. Again, giving me a little bit more evidence that we're in a range. Now, for me, even if I didn't really look at the breaking highs and breaking lows of retracing, this to me is a clear range, okay? Now, for me, yes, we've broken the high with a quite nice candle and continued with that momentum. But again, after that momentum, we saw a wick, okay? So again, giving me evidence that I want to be a little bit more patient. Then for me, I saw the next candle giving us a bit of stagnation, but again, even in this kind of setup, I want to see a lot better price action here before I even consider getting involved. And as you can see, the next candle was quite aggressive pullback for me, considering the size of the push up. So for me at this point, again, still waiting to sit in my hands. And the third candle continued that kind of confirmation that I don't want to get involved because we're seeing that pullback. So again, for me, we broke this high. Again, we're not that much momentum, giving me warning signs. We've got more of a warning sign here, and then we've got an aggressive pullback. So again, for me, not really looking at any trades here that are high probability. So as you can see, what's happened after that. So again, we've broken the high, formed a wick, retraced, broken the low, retraced, broke the low, retraced, broke the high, retraced, broke the high, retraced, broke the low, retraced. Again, for me, breaking highs, breaking lows, retracing, not showing any commitment up or down. So again, for me, more in a range. Okay, so for me, what am I looking at next on this pair? Now, like we know for the Aussie US dollar, I like to say, you know, the pair characteristics of this pair. We know this pair likes to trend correctively, but I'm sure you guys can see that we are in a clear range. We're not getting any kind of indication of where we want to go. You can see we're pretty much going sideways, and the breaking the highs and lows indicates that pretty well. So for me, what am I looking for next between now and the evening forecast? If we impulse up, more than happy to look to get involved in a nice continuation flag. And same to the downside. If we impulse down, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag. Okay, very, very high probability setup. Okay, now normally, of course, you know, if we start to break the highs or break the lows in a corrective manner, let's say for example we break the lows correctively and then we get a push up, I will be looking for opportunities in this kind of scenario. But again, this will have to take a lot longer to form for me personally before I even look. And I think obviously this is very unlikely to form between now and the evening forecast. But again, if we start to come up in a corrective manner like this, which could happen again between now and the next forecast, then I will be looking at opportunities to go south. Okay, in what form? Well, if we impulse down, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag, very high probability. But also if we break the low with momentum, if we break the low with momentum, pull back to this level, I will be looking for a nice reversal trade. Why is that? Well, we're seeing this weakness, we're seeing the liquidity collection, and then we're seeing that liquidity being used to drive price to the sell side. Okay, very high probability setup. So for me, again, we know this pair likes to trend correctively. So if we push up, come back, push up again with momentum, come back to this level, we'll be looking at a nice continuation trade. And same to the downside, push down, pull up, push down again, pull up. I will be looking for a nice continuation. But again, that will have to take some time to form. Unlikely to form considering this price action. But again, it doesn't have to happen like that. It can just form very, very quickly. But again, that is what I'm looking at on the Aussie US dollar. Okay. Next pair is the Aussie Japanese yen. Now, I think some people were possibly looking at a combo at this level, but again, not really for me. Now, I'll just show you my thought process as to what I was seeing in the market with this pair. So for me, we broke the high here, retraced, broke the low, retraced, right? Giving me indication at this moment in time, we're going to be range bound. And essentially that's what we got, okay? After that, you can see that we broke the high, retrace, broke the low, retrace. More evidence. Broke the high, retrace, broke the low, retrace. Okay, so even though in a sense we can see without the highs and lows we are coming up in this ascending nature, I was getting very early evidence over here that we're going to be range bound, and that's what I'm seeing here. I'm not seeing any indication of where we want to go. Okay, now for me, we can see that we did push up, come down, have this little range and push down in the direction of the second leg, but again, I'm not really seeing commitment. For me, there's no real commitment here. You can see even as we broke this low, we can see we started to form wicks and we started to push back quite aggressively. So again, for me, I wouldn't even be considering a combo at this level, not high probability. Why? Because I'm not seeing any momentum in the market, especially considering prior price action. So for me, happy to sit on my hands and wait for better price action. So again, what am I looking for next on this pair? So as you can see, we pushed down and pushed back up again, kind of in this V. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if we get this kind of range and push up in the direction of the second leg, okay? But again, what's happened, you can see essentially we broke the low, formed wicks, retrace, broke the high, formed wick, retrace. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if we just continue to start to range within this kind of high here and low here. So again, I want to see a lot more price action away from this on the Aussie Japanese yen, okay? So between now and the evening forecast, what are we more likely to see, okay? So we're more likely to see an impulse up. If that happens, we'll be looking to get involved in a nice continuation flag, okay? Same to the downside. If we impulse down, more than happy to look to get involved in a nice continuation flag to the downside. Again, very high probability setup. Now, similar to the Aussie US dollar, if we start to move up in a corrective manner, I will be looking at opportunities to go back down south. But again, this will have to take a little bit of time to form. But again, you know, between now and the next forecast, this could form. But again, for me, it's unlikely. But again, that's same to the downside. This, even the downside, when we're seeing this corrective nature to the downside, I want to see a lot more of a better correction and then start to look for opportunities to go up north, okay? So again, for me, we can see that we kind of have a V in a sense. We can expect a range and a push in the direction of the second leg. But again, you know, it all depends on what happens next, okay? For me, this was a very nice V here where we got the range and moved down. The reason being is because how we started to react once we came up to this level of liquidity. You can see we took it out and we came down pretty aggressively, a little bit aggressively relative to prior price action, but then again, it couldn't really be sustained, okay? And because of this, we saw that we were more likely to range. So again, sitting on my hands, being a lot more patient with Aussie Japanese yen, waiting for a lot more clear price action before I look to get involved. Next pair is a Euro US dollar. As you can see, guys, even from this gap, we ranged for quite a bit. We broke the low, retraced, and now we're breaking the low again with a wick and could likely retrace. Okay, so again, we've seen this enter into the liquidity area. Wasn't really looking at setups, but again, what are we seeing? This is actually very important. What we're looking at here, we can see we're breaking the low, retracing, breaking the low, retracing. In a sense, we are starting to come down in a descending manner. Okay, so for me, what am I looking for? Now, most immediately we could start to continue this descending manner, right? And then we will look for opportunities coming from this. What is this showing me? This is showing me weakness, okay? So for me, once we have seen this kind of descending nature, what am I looking for next? Well, if we impulse from here, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag. Very high probability setup on this pair. And again, reversal setup. If we break the high with momentum, pull back to this level, more than happy to get involved in a nice reversal setup. Again, why is that? Seeing weakness, seeing liquidity being collected, and then we're seeing that liquidity being used to drive price to the north side, okay? Very high probability. Now, price may not do that, okay? We know that it is quite common with the euro and the euro Japanese yen to get this kind of descending nature and then impulse down. If we do that, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag. Again, very high probability. But again, if we start to see that corrective nature at the bottom, I will be looking for opportunities to go back up north. Why is that? Well, retail traders will think that this is part of the down move, whereas we know we've read price action over here. We know that essentially price is starting to push up. So again, we'll be going long whilst they'll be going short. They'll be caught on the wrong side of the market, and we will be in the right position to take advantage of the new trend to the north side, okay? So again, waiting on my hands, being patient, you can see that we are, to me, we are starting this descending manner. But again, we may not do that to the downside. We could, from here, literally, next price action could impulse up. Again, if price does that, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag. Again, we seeing that commitment on this pair. Flags look very, very nice, okay? More than happy to take these if this kind of price action looks very good, okay? And as long as we see the commitment away from this. So again, seeing my hands, being patient, waiting for more price action, you can see this kind of descending nature is forming quite well, considering how we're breaking the major lows. So again, let's see what happens next on the euro US dollar, okay? Next pair is the euro Japanese yen. Now, as you can see, guys, I did not take a trade here. I know that quite a few people did get involved at this location here. So I just want to go through my thought process on why I personally didn't get involved here. So as you can see, guys, we did have this range, right? We broke out of this range, formed a wick, and then we continued, okay? Now, if I bar replay it to, let's say, here, okay? We can see that we had this range, okay? We came into this area of liquidity. Okay, and then of course, what happened? We formed a wick, okay, showing us that momentum may not continue. We can see by the size of the candle in the wick, momentum may not continue, okay. Now, the next candle, of course, as you can see, retraced. Yes, it did, in a sense, was a bearish candle and did just have a small wick at the bottom. But again, for me, as you can see, what's happening, guys, you can see for me personally, we've got a strong candle here, we've got a weaker candle here, and an even weaker candle here, right? So for me, in my opinion, and my plan, and the way I've backtested the Euro Japanese yen, this is showing me weakness, okay? Now, if you look at the very next candle, right? Now, this closed solid, yes, but as you can see, for me, there's quite a few reasons for me not to place an order at this level. Number one, and the most important reason, is the size of the break. We had just barely broken the low, okay? Now for me, on the euro and the Euro Japanese yen, I would want to see at least a lot more of a larger break before I consider getting involved. But for me, this is not really breaking with momentum. We have seen an element of momentum here, but again, for me, at this location here, I'm seeing a slowdown and we could easily retrace. So for me, I wasn't personally looking to get involved at this location here. Now, as you can see, what's happened after, you can see that price has eventually continued down in this manner. So you can see that one of the things that I can see is that we came up, came down in this kind of V shape, and we had the range, and then we moved in the direction of the second leg. Okay, so we had the range and moved in the direction of the second leg. Okay, now one of the things that the Euro Japanese yen and the euro likes to do is have a push down, have this descending nature, and then push down again. Okay, now again, you can see that that is exactly what's starting to formulate here. You can see the push down, corrective nature, and then a push down again here, right? Now, one of the things that I was looking for is an entry at this level, but again, what happened after this push? We can see we saw double wicks and we start to push up like this. So for me, again, I wasn't really looking to get involved in a combo at that level. Now, this way may play out, but again, for me, it is not high probability. Why? Well, because we got the double wicks and we didn't get any evidence of a range. We start to push up, and price for me could easily just do this, okay, which is quite common on the euro pairs, okay? So for me, I'm not looking to get involved. Now, what am I looking at next? Now, for me, we are clearly in a downtrend, right? We have started to range about here, okay, but we are in the downtrend. So for me, if we break the low, pull back to this level, I will be looking to get involved in a continuation of a trend, okay? A very high probability depending on price action and how, most importantly for me, how this setup forms. Not only how we break, but also how we form the setup and the pullback to the level, okay? Very high probability. Now, from here, we're not really seeing, we're kind of in no man's land in a sense, okay? So we've had this kind of push down, corrective nature, we may push down. Now from here, if we impulse down, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag, okay? But again, if we come down in this kind of corrective behavior, I will be looking at opportunities to go back up north, okay? Very high probability. Now again, we have a low here, and we might just come down and break it correctively. If we do that, I will be looking at opportunities to go north. If we impulse up, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag, okay? And if we actually break the high with momentum, pull back to this level, I will be looking for a reversal trade. Again, I know that this is very, very high probability on the euro, Japanese yen. You can see even in the kind of longer term sense, right? You can see we have been on a very long descending for quite a while, okay? So for me, again, this setup will be very nice and very high probability. But again, waiting for a lot more price action on the pair. We have started to range. So again, I am waiting for clear evidence and a lot more till I actually start looking for trades in this price action here, okay? So that is what I'm looking at on the Euro Japanese yen. Next pair is the pound. As you can see, there was a setup here, but again, I personally did not get involved either. You can see that we came up in this nice kind of ascending nature. We broke the high, retraced, broke the high, retrace. We broke the low, retrace, broke the low, retrace, not seeing weakness to the upside, and then we broke the low with momentum. Now, for me on this pair, what happens is, you can see we clearly got double wicks at the end. So for me, I was anticipating a lot more of a range, okay? So I wanted a lot more of a range before we broke this bomb high for me to get involved. And we know that pound likes these wider flags and then a pull up and then go. But again, for me, like I say, I wanted the range after the wicks, but also you can see prior price action is still pretty range bound, okay? So for me, I wanted to see a lot more better price action on this pair. For me, as you can see now, we've broken this low, form double wicks and retrace. So for me, again, not a very powerful bomb. We could easily just push up. But again, if we just push down, again, for anyone involved, it's fantastic. But again, for me, like I say, this is not a high probability bomb for me on this pair, considering we got the wicks and we didn't really get a range. For me, when I start to see this kind of push, if we get this pullback, retrace, pullback, retrace, we could just start to range within here. or we could just, similar to the euro pairs, just come up here and then push up. Okay, so again, not high probability for me. Now, what am I looking for next? Again, I want to see more impulsive price action. Just as we saw here, again, I want to see that in a certain direction. Now, if we get that here, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag to the upside, okay? Very high probability. Why is it high probability from this price action? Well, you can see, in a sense, we are struggling to go down. Major low being broken, retracing, breaking, retracing. In a sense, we are struggling to go down. So again, that would be high probability. Again, if we impulse up and retrace, and we start to see this range within here, and then we break the low and pull up, I will be looking for this kind of wider flag. Very high probability for me on this pair. Really, really nice. Now again, I will be looking for continuations. If we impulse up, don't get a chance to get involved in the retrace, and we push up again, come back to this level, I will be looking at a continuation. But again, this will have to take a little bit of a few hours to form. This could possibly form. We know the pound likes to move very, very quickly in a short amount of time. So for me, this could occur. So again, this is what I will be looking at on the pound. But again, waiting for more price action. We are a little bit more range bound. We are struggling to go down, okay? But let's see what happens next. Next pair is the New Zealand Japanese yen. As you can see from this pair, this is similar to the Aussie Japanese yen, but very clear evidence that we are range bound. The Aussie Japanese yen showed that we were a little bit more ascending in a sense visually, but this one is a lot more clearer that we're going range bound. You can see that we've broken the high retrace, broken the low retrace, giving us evidence of this range, and that's exactly what we got. You can see after that what's happened. We've broken the high here, retraced, broken, retraced. Broken the low, retraced, broken the high, retraced. We're getting no evidence where we want to go. You can see we're pretty range bound. So again, what am I looking for next on this pair? Well, the most probable scenario for me is if we start to ascend in this corrective nature, see this weakness, I will be looking at opportunities to go south. If we break the low with momentum, pull back to level, I will be looking for a nice reversal trade. I personally don't trade the bond with this pair, so again, I will be looking for this kind of setup. Now, in terms of in a descending manner and looking for descending opportunities going long, after that, this will have to take a lot more time and price action to form. So for me, sitting on my hands, being patient, waiting for better price action on this pair, okay? We can see we're pretty range bound. I want to see a lot better movement. So that's what I'm looking at in the market ahead for the 2nd of March today. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next forecast.